In health issues, sickle cell anemia disorder is one of the world's most common genetic disorders, with statistics of no fewer than 150,000 affected children in Nigeria. A special report tells the story of a 4-year-old boy from Delta State whose parents are doing all they can to help him manage the crisis of the deadly syndrome.
4-year-old So Blessed Okwosa is one of many people living with sickle cell anemia. Like many children his age, he's growing up in a loving environment created by his parents. But sometimes there is little or nothing they can do to make him happy. That's on days he has attacks and suffers excruciating pain. His parents say nothing prepared them for the journey of raising a child with sickle cell, but over time, they have become strong enough to handle the challenge.
We already had 5 results, 5 genotype results, so we were too sure that the results were correct. For 5 results to say the same thing, but it was unfortunate that the tests were not correct. So that was how we came to this. After we found out, we are still on frequent admissions. Frequently, we are in the hospital to take treatments because he was always in crisis.
In fact, at some point, I was like, God, why? Why should it be me? No? But with time and with God, we started breathing up. And sometimes he will be in crisis, and before if he's in crisis, I must fall sick after his admission. But with God's help and with encouragement, now I can go through his crisis time and I'm okay.
Fortunately, the Sickle Cell Center in Delta State, established by O5 Initiative, a pet project of the wife of the governor, Mrs. Edith Okowa, caters to the needs of such individuals. The center boasts of state-of-the-art equipment, a team of professionals including genetic counselors and medical doctors. It is one among similar facilities in government-owned hospitals in other parts of the state. Having gained recognition from local and international bodies, including the United Nations, the brain behind it is seeking stronger partnerships to further reduce the prevalence of sickle cell anemia disorder.
All these activities formed part of our presentations at the just concluded United Nations General Assembly. To the glory of God, our modest effort in tackling the sickle cell disorder caught the interest of organizations and individuals who were motivated to do same in their respective countries. This has always been our yearnings, that each and every one of us will contribute our quota in order to change the world one person at a time.
According to the United Nations statistics, up to 16% of under 5 mortality cases in Nigeria are traced to sickle cell anemia, which affects nearly 3% of the country's population. For the Okwosa family, bravery and determination are the driving force as the parents strive to help So Blessed lead a normal life alongside their younger son, who is free of sickle cell.
Stakeholders in the education sector in Gombe State are advocating more investment in science and technology at all levels of learning. As an inspection of a robotics center established in Gombe State by an educationist, the president of the Nigeria Computer Society, Mr. Shodia Simon, commended the effort as one that will expose students in the region to the field of robotics engineering and ultimately improve science and technology education.
I'm firstly going to present about my own project.
Students of robotic engineering display their prowess at the Gombe Robotics Center. The initiator of the project speaks on the need for increased investment in education, especially in the Northeast.
Before, people memorize things just to pass examination. But now we want to make it practical. We want people, our students, our children, to see learning as a process of improving the society, as a process of impacting the future, as a process of developing humanity.
Some students at the center display some of their innovations and explain how they came about it.
The idea was like a group work. We did a group work on this one. The idea was brought by actually not me alone, all of us in the class. So this one is to detect obstacles.
The president of Nigeria Computer Society and a mechatronics lecturer at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, expressed happiness with the development, saying the future of robotic engineering is bright in the country.
Some of the resources, some of the facilities we have seen here today, they are really amazing, and we hope that this will be a new beginning for us in robotic development in Nigeria. Nigeria is one. And what is important is whatever is good in any part of Nigeria, you can associate that into the whole country. Well, this has come up in Northeast and is an indication that development can come from any part of this country.
To have access to this knowledge would have to involve commitment from all stakeholders as far as education is concerned. We need to have commitment from the government. The government needs to spend much, not just on building structures in schools, but the government also needs to spend on STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the government has to spend on training of the best hands to teach students in these schools.
The event presents an opportunity for students to exhibit their talent in robotic engineering as they hope for greater investment in science and technology.
The ongoing border drill in 4 geopolitical zones seems to be drawing attention of countries surrounding Nigeria. One of the 4 countries, Niger Republic, has banned the export of rice to Nigeria as talks are on in Cameroon to pronounce same action. In this report, to take a look at some actions since the closure of the border. It's been 6 weeks since the borders drill exercise commenced across 4 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. At the popular frozen food market in Ijora, Lagos, the last batch of imported frozen turkey are being sold out. For now, there's no hope of restocking these freezers, as many have been turned to rest and shed. Rice, Nigeria's most staple food, is another major headache to government. Before now, rice had been smuggled, mostly with motorcycles, through various illegal routes.
It has become a history that in Nigeria, the soil of Nigeria can get a rice that can be able to sustain, even as much as it cannot sustain everybody now. But all we are begging is for all Nigeria to have some patience, because we are believing in our soil now, and our soil was able to give us a stone-free rice, and we are believing in it. Very soon, we will be able to get a better rice that we can supply to other places.
In a joint review of the exercise, top officials of Customs and Immigration Service charged members of the border community to collaborate with government in fighting smuggling and illegal migration.
Smuggling is an offense. Every illicit thing you bring into this country has a way, consequences on our economy, on our security, on our well-being. And we have gotten to a point that we must do something drastic in order to stop this. Otherwise, we'll finish.
You cannot be Nigeria man, you love Nigeria, and be allowed Nigeria to suffer. Am I correct? Yes. In your house, if you go back now, you see somebody enter your house through the window, you go be happy. No. Even if you enter through the door, if you break door and enter, you go be happy. Allow people to enter Nigeria through the right place, with the right paper. You too, when you are going out, go out through the right paper.
Weeks after the commencement of the exercise, Niger has become the first of 4 nations bordering Nigeria to announce a ban on rice exportation to Nigeria. However, the Ministry of Commerce in Cameroon says it is considering the suspension of the exportation of about 50 products, including rice, to Nigeria. Some members of the Bronze Casters and Wood Carvers Guilds in Benin City, the Edo State capital, have offered suggestions on how to ensure that the art does not go extinct. They're bothered that the present-day youth do not seem to be interested in acquiring skills in these areas. Our community report tonight looks at what is being done to attract more people to the uniqueness of this art form.
The monuments which at present adorn some areas of Benin City, the Edo State capital, tell stories of splendor and exploits in the great Benin kingdom of old. Historical accounts relay that the kingdom stood tall, with its revered monarchy ruling in wisdom for hundreds of years. The prowess on the battlefield and economic sphere were said to be outstanding. Its well-thought-out plans were also evident in the crafts guild system the kingdom operated.
We have about 60 guilds. They are all represented. They walk towards the palace, and they were paid. They get money from it. You must have either a family, you belong to shoemakers, you belong to iron makers, you belong to Igwe makers, you belong to Igbesawa, and so on and so forth.
The Bronze Casters Guild still stands on Igun Street, turning out artworks of various designs. Eric Ogbemedia learnt the skills in his early years from his father. Now he blends modern art techniques with the craft as he studied sculpture in the tertiary institution. He talks about the guild's challenges.
If, for instance, if the electricity was stable in Nigeria, then we'll be talking of modern foundries. Wax, we don't get wax in Benin here. So it's being processed maybe outside Benin, in the northern part, because they rear bees too, that produces the wax. So everything we use, we hardly get them from Edo State here.
Another guild which remains is that of Igbesawa, the wood carvers or carpenters. John Ibineweka is a leading artist in this field. His physical challenge does not diminish his passion. The Greedy Hunter is one of his works. He also believes he could do better with modern equipment.
You see, children these days, they will want to see you at work. We are not in a global village. Nobody will want to spend much time or a longer time in producing one work. But with the help of machines, this work can go a long way when producing it.
Edo State is the host of the National Festival of Arts and Culture, NAFEST 2019. Osaze Osemegiero heads the Edo Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Diaspora.
We carefully chose Igun Street as one of our venues for this year's events. Every evening, by the time we finish, we'll take everybody to Igun Street, where we expect our guests to spend their money and buy the wares. So in that way, we're empowering our brothers in Igun Street, the broadcasters. In that way, we are putting Igun Street on Edo State in a world map, which it already is, because the focus is going to be there on that day. And all the visitors and guests that come are going to see things for themselves.
Beyond the festival, the artist's desire is that the art of bronze casting and wood carving remain for generations to come. Setting up an art school to teach these skills is another suggestion they have for the government and relevant bodies. Jessica Olubuse, Channels Television News.
Budget implementation in Nasarawa State will now be in line with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This development is the conclusion of a stakeholders' engagement held in Lafia, the state capital. Integration of the goals into the state's budget system is to make its performance base in line with global best practices. Our correspondent Halima Guillaume reports.
Stakeholders from the executive and legislative arms of government arriving for a high-level engagement anchored on charting a new course in the state. The Sustainable Development Goals and development partners have recently been brought under one roof in the state to ensure that they key into the development vision of the government. This necessitated a plan by the government to adopt a performance-based budgeting system owing to dwindling resources. For this reason, stakeholders have come together to share ideas on mainstreaming the SDGs into the state's budget plan.
It has therefore become necessary for Nasarawa State to adopt a performance-based budgeting system to ensure adaptation to the Sustainable Development Goals targets into the development priorities of the state. To also enable the state to integrate the needs of the people from a globally accepted institutional framework and provide solutions.
To achieve this, there is a need for synergy among ministries, departments, and agencies.
The SDG will work harmoniously with especially State Ministry of Finance and Budget Planning and all the MDs to further populate the log frames for the KPI monthly or quarterly assessment progress and meeting of milestones using the performance evaluation review technique part, and focusing on gains and losses.
After a 2-day deliberation, stakeholders are united on the integration of the Sustainable Development Goals into the state budget system, with performance appraisal identified as a springboard for target realization.
I charge the head of civil service to entrench a system of appraising performance of organizations to ensure that the knowledge acquired from this training program is applied towards the realization of not only the goals of SDG, but other policies and programs of this administration.
The adoption of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals into the state budget system will also focus on the state's economic development strategy aimed at improving performance, transparency, and accountability. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.